And quality, that's why we're your home store. Home store. Thompson. The way to make a home. The way to make a home.
When you're on the go, the experienced team at Foster's Pharmacy are here to help. Drop off your prescription while you shop or WhatsApp us and we'll prepare it, ready for your arrival.
Whether you need prescription or over-the-counter medications, blood glucose testing, or advice on vitamins and supplements, we're here early in the morning to late at night. Both of our locations at our Camana Bay and airport stores are open 7 a.m. to 9 p.m., Monday to Saturday.
For more info, visit fosters.ky/pharmacy. Foster's Pharmacy. Better health because we care.
With you in mind, we have your style. Find what you need down every aisle. You want saving, selection, and quality. That's why we're your home store. Home store. The way to make a home. The way to make a home.
At Polar Bear Air Conditioning, we believe in helping you to avoid costly mistakes and replacements. That's why we offer a quarterly maintenance program at a discounted price. You'll receive a 10% discount on all repairs, accessories, and services. Priority front-of-the-line customer status, reminders of your service, and no overtime rate for after-hours calls. Why not save money and avoid hassle with Polar Bear Air Conditioning? Need service now? Book our AC special for just $99. Book the next available technician at polarbear.ky. That's polarbear.ky.
Looking for TVs, electronics, sound systems, speakers, gaming consoles, games, and smart home gadgets? Shop Cost You Less.
Looking for housewares, small appliances, fans, mini fridges, and cooling? Shop Cost You Less.
Looking for baby supplies, toys and games, pet supplies, cleaning supplies, and auto supplies? Shop Cost You Less.
Looking for quality produce, grass-fed meats, and groceries? You guessed it. Shop Cost You Less.
Cost You Less is your destination for everything you need on island. Cost You Less. Everyday low prices on items that matter to you.
Hello, pet parents. We're K-Man Vets, K-Man's most advanced veterinary clinic providing quality care and services. We are committed to being your pet's advocate and friend, offering a lifetime of care. From vaccinations and wellness checks to more advanced surgical procedures, complicated medical concerns, and emergency care on demand. For more information about us or to get in touch, please visit kmanvets.com. K-Man Vets, where compassion meets excellence.
The views and opinions expressed on Straight Talk with Austin and Ellio do not necessarily reflect or represent the views of Stingray Media, its staff, or contributors. Callers to the program accept full responsibility for the views expressed. The show host and affiliates are not liable for any statements made or any harm claimed. All callers to the program indemnify Straight Talk from all claims. Offensive, defamatory, or unlawful content will not be tolerated. Be a part of the conversation by calling 745-2626. Now, here's Straight Talk with Austin and Ellio on Bobo 103.1.
And good evening, K-Man. I'm your host, Austin Harris.
And I'm Ellio Solomon, and welcome here to Straight Talk on 103.1. Number to call here in the studio is 745-2626. Again, 745-2626.
And certainly, of course, we have the WhatsApp number available to you. If you don't want to call, want to save those valuable credits, well, you can WhatsApp us at 928-2562, either by sending us a WhatsApp voice note or a traditional WhatsApp text message. We are broadcasting live on your radio dial on 103.1 FM and simulcasting live on YouTube under Straight Talk Radio Show and on Instagram vis-a-vis The Rec Room. And yes, I keep saying it, but I keep being optimistic that we are drawing ever closer to getting on the Facebook streaming platform as well. And I am very optimistic at that outcome. Good evening to you, Ellio. Trust you had a enjoyable Wednesday.
What are you being optimistic about exactly?
Well, I'm being optimistic that we're going to finally get, our stream live on Facebook.
It's inevitable.
It is inevitable.
It's inevitable.
It won't be for lack of
It's like a Matrix
effort.
movie. You ever heard that movie? You saw that movie, right?
It is a great movie. Yeah. It's
Mr. Anderson.
Mr. Anderson.
Apparently, you've been living two separate lives.
You do that voice very well.
In one life, you are a computer programmer. In the other life, you... Wait, what did he say? Is he a spy? What was it again?
I don't remember.
A hacker. You were a hacker.
hacker. Going under the name of Neo.
Right. And then he says, you see, one of these lives has a future.
Obviously, somebody has been Netflixing it and
No.
busy.
I watched that years ago, man.
And you still remember it? It stuck out?
I still remember it.
Well, you know, it would be okay if you said you were Netflixing it at some point in time, because today is a special day for us here in the Cayman Islands. It's an anniversary of such, from a rather bleak moment in our history when Netflix was all we had in terms of contact with the outside world.
Right.
For those of you who may not already be aware, today is 5 years that the Cayman Islands confirmed its first case of COVID-19. And in the face of uncertainty, according to the governor's office, they posted a remembrance token, if you will, on social media today, and I think on their government website. It says, in the face of uncertainty, our community came together, demonstrating resilience, compassion, and unity. From volunteers to frontline workers, every act of kindness strengthened our bonds. Today, we reflect on that journey and the strength that carried us through it. And I think that's very well written and very well said.
Well, you know what I'm going to say, Mr. Harris? You were there.
Yes,
you were there. And, you know,
was.
and think about it, right? It's either like a blessing or a curse. I mean, like, gee, does this have to happen on my watch?
No, exactly. No, I
just wanted to get something done.
Exactly. And, you know, we've talked about it this week, just in terms of, you know, the work to address, you know, traffic solutions. That was reaching a crescendo in 2020 for me personally and members of my committee.
Right.
And then COVID came along and stopped it dead in its tracks.
Stay home.
I tell you that, stay home. You know, but as we say to persons, and I say to persons when they ask me what the pint is, you know, if you are breathing today, drawing breath today, then the work that I contributed to, in that terms, of course.
You just gotta say that's the pint.
That's the pint, protecting us from COVID. And if you're breathing today, well, that's the pint. You know, we did at least something right. They did at least something right. But yes, today is 5 years. It's hard to believe that 5 years have gone by so quickly. But then again, I thought when I stepped outside my door after Hurricane Ivan and saw what I thought at the time was like a bomb went off, I certainly said, boy, I'll never forget this as long as I live. And those days that followed, I'll still never forget them. They live on in my mind vividly.
I was probably one of the rambunctious ones that broke all the rules during COVID.
Probably. You look like a rule breaker.
I am a rule breaker.
You are
especially
a rebel.
Especially when I think it's like this is a crocker. You know,
Soul rebel.
Hold on. This is a crock of special high intensive training here, Austin.
Yeah. Right.
So I was like, I wasn't big on the vaccine. You know, it's like, no, I'm buying this. You know,
You weren't big on the vaccine. You were a rebel for COVID. You were a rebel for Hurricane Ivan.
I haven't been sick sin't 2003. Okay,
Wow.
This is like pure God immune system here.
But yeah, well,
you know,
I'll give you that.
I'm prayed up and slayed up.
Yes.
I don't have to worry about that.
Yeah, naturally boosted up.
Yeah. And, but anyway, we hope those days doesn't come again, but we should be prepared.
No, we should be prepared.
And as I've said in one program, sorry to cut you.
No, go ahead.
Sorry to cut you.
Go ahead. Cut away.
Is that
like
the two things, Hurricane Ivan and COVID, we need to have a proper sit down, some kind of committee council, whatever one wants to call it, to see what the lessons that we've learned and make sure that we're prepared for either one of those eventualities.
I agree with that sentiment wholeheartedly.
Why we haven't done it yet, I don't know.
It would be a fantastic exercise and something that keeps both of those traumatic events top of mind, not only for those of us who experienced it, but more importantly, for those in our community that are new to the community, who never went through it, who have no idea what we're talking about. Some of those people who buying properties on South Sound and coastlines and all that, thinking, oh, yeah, love the view. Yeah, the view's gorgeous. Except when Mother Nature decides to throw you a curveball. That's where the problems begin.
Well, you know, I remember driving through South Sound and seeing all these houses gutted. Well, it was a slightly different angle, Austin.
Slightly different.
We went from all of a sudden from being three-dimensional to somewhat quasi-four-dimensional all of a sudden. It was pretty interesting.
But again, we look at the resilience of the Cayman Islands real estate market. Those properties today are selling for as much, if not more, than they originally sold for. And it's as if Hurricane Ivan Never happens.
Excess funds, bad memories,
That's what it is, boy.
myriad of different things at play.
People hope for
But we
short-term
thank God for
memories.
that. I mean, that's good. The good real estate market's good. Right?
No, we'll take it.
We'll
absolutely take it because that good real estate market lends itself to a strong economy. And
That's right.
you know, those are all positives. We mightn't like what it spells for Caymanians all the time, but certainly for the economy, it does represent, you know, a good opportunity.
No, absolutely. Again, not that I'm getting onto tourism.
No, not that you're getting on.
But the bottom line is, you know, people coming here, investing, spending money, that's not always a bad thing.
Yeah.
That's a pretty good thing.
That's a
I
pretty
think
good
you
thing.
just want to also always make sure we know who the owners are. And
Yeah.
the owners should be Caymanians.
100%.
Ownership.
100%.
A family can own a company of 250,000 employees. Believe it or not, you can.
Yes. And every family has to have a head.
Yeah.
So, you know, again, we make no qualms about that on this show or otherwise. Sticking with our usual good news to start off with, I went to the beach today. Not to swim and frolic, but I recall the conversation we had with one of the beach vendors when we talked about the whole issue of beach vending and their case, you know, being granted to move forward onto Grand Court to decide whether they stay or have to go.
Mm-hmm.
And, of course, the sentiments we also shared during our discussion with Mr. Eddie Thompson and his videos, which suggested that, you know, there was a lot of trash and other unsightly things on that beach. And I wanted to see what was improved, I guess, against the backdrop of what the caller, the vendor, said had, in fact, improved on the site. So in my morning travels, because I was up rather early this morning, shall we say, with the dawn, it was a very busy day, very, very productive day. But before the main events really took off, I had a chance to take a drive. But my mind just said, go by
there.
public beach. Go there. You know, whether it was the Matrix talking or the Jedi Force, I don't know what it was, but I heard a voice saying, go there. So I went there. And I was pleasantly surprised.
Yes.
The beach, the proper beach itself, the main beach on the shoreline, was kept in good order. I didn't see any signs of trash build up or whatnot. I mean, sure, if you dug your toes deep enough in the sand, I suppose you'd probably come up with one or two items, but certainly at the surface level, I thought it was, you know, well maintained. I noticed that the volleyball courts, which are before the beach level, not only were they well maintained, but clearly the beach cleaner vessel truck machine had just gone over it because it was almost, you know, ice rink flat, clean white sand. And I was told later on that apparently they were clearing it up for an upcoming volleyball tournament.
Oh, not just because you were coming.
Oh God, not just because I was coming.
I was just checking.
No, I'm not. I'm not. That,
this could happen.
I'm not that person yet. People are, oh my goodness, Austin Harris is coming by today. We better clean this up tonight. We are working overtime.
It happens.
We don't want his mouth. No, they didn't know I was coming. But what I did note of interest was that the beach cleaner machine cleaned up very nicely the volleyball courts, but didn't clean up the proper beach side. You know, and that may be because it got there either whatever time it arrived, and by the time it arrived, maybe by 7:30, you know, the beach vendors are already putting out their chairs, so there's no space.
Right.
But I would just simply encourage, you know, maybe as just a suggestion that this, you know, when the machine gets there, if it gets there earlier, you know, he starts with the beach,
Right.
and then works his way backwards to the volleyball portion of the beach, and overall, it would go a long way in terms of visual appeal. But I was also informed that whilst the beach cleaner machine tends to focus on the volleyball area, the cleanliness on the beach really comes down to the individual effort of the vendors themselves. So you got 5 or 6 vendors down there, all responsible for their own little piece of beach. And whilst they work on specific sections and they do so in relatively good harmony with one another, they also clean up after themselves both before and after.
That's great.
And I saw this firsthand. Now, I hate to throw in some bad news with some good news, but
I should applaud that first. Hold on.
we should definitely go. There it is.
Okay, so great.
You got to use your buzzer. Congratulations.
I got the cheers on.
All
Okay.
right.
So congratulations. Now we can go on to something naughty or nice.
Yeah, naughty or I mean, I didn't see, regrettably, either a police presence or members from the Public Lands Commission, unless they were incognito.
Right.
And, you know, in plain clothes, and therefore perhaps, you know, very discreet. But there were no police officers there. There were no public lands officials there that I saw. But like I said, they didn't need to be there. It was what looked like the making of what would have been a very nice day at the beach. The spring tides are in. Oh, that's another good thing.
Oh, yeah.
All this beach erosion that we were experiencing further down the beach, it may very well be further down the beach.
Mm-hmm.
But as Mother Nature continually provides for us, what it takes away, it gives
it
back.
brings it back.
Public Beach has got a beautiful, beautiful beach.
Stay calm.
Albeit today they had the spring tides, so the waves and the wave surge was coming further up the beach, so to speak. But again, it leaves behind some really beautiful, walking beach once the waves settle down. So, again, as far as Public Beach is concerned, I can't give witness testimony for anywhere else. But that beach is looking good.
All right,
even all the way up to Kimpton and whatnot, as far as the eye can see around the corner.
It's been a while since I've been there, so
it looks good.
Thanks for the report, Mr. Harris.
I would recommend you take a stop there, and again, don't just take my word for it. See for yourself.
So I'm just curious, how early morning was this?
Oh no, this morning when I went there again, because I had to time it with the vendors and whatnot. I probably got there about 8:30.
Just checking.
Yeah, about 8:30.
Not one of these 3 a.m. moves.
No. I wouldn't go to the beach 3 a.m. and it's all dark 30.
Hey, but sometimes I get up walking because I'm sitting there and it's like you can't sleep, so I go right in front of my house, go walking.
Mm-hmm. Indeed.
Just checking.
Just before we move on to some more good news, we want to try something new here, and just take a very short commercial break. But when we come back, we will continue with some more of the good news of the day. So keep it locked. There'll be more Straight Talk still to come right here on 103.1 FM.
More Straight Talk with Austin and Ellio coming up. Be a part of the conversation by calling 745-2626. Bobo FM.
Hey man, could it be you? Tortuga's 10K giveaway is back, and someone's walking away with $10,000 in cash. Every time you spend $25 at Tortuga Fine Wine and Spirits or discount liquors in-store or online at tortuga.ky, you get a shot at winning big. As well as $10,000 in cash, we've got thousands in giveaways to hand out every week. Think staycations, the latest iPhones, exclusive experiences, and more. Get in to win. Visit tortuga.ky for the full terms and conditions.
Welcome back to Straight Talk with Austin and Ellio. Have your say on 745-2626. Bobo FM.
And welcome back, K-Man, to more Straight Talk right here on 103.1 FM. I'm your host, Austin Harris.
And I'm Ellio Solomon. And, of course, if you want to get into the conversation or start one, throw us in a different direction.
Sure.
745-2626. That's 745-2626. And WhatsApp is?
The WhatsApp number is 928-2562. There you can send us either a WhatsApp voice note, and we'll share it on air, or a traditional WhatsApp text message. Sticking with our good news before we move into the meat and potatoes of today's show. From the headlines, again, I see an article that appeared, two articles actually, if we have time for them, appeared in today's K-Man Compass. The first one with the title, Reed Sprints to Yet Another School and National Record. Just 2 weeks removed from his record-breaking performance at the recent Tyson Invitational, Caymanian sprinter Jaden Reed has made more history for his school and his country, this time during the SEC Indoor Championships. Right. The sophomore year at Louisiana State University touchdown at the Texas A&M track and field facility, where he finished the 200-meter final in spectacular fashion. Reed finished second in his heat and third overall on the day to earn the bronze with a stellar personal best time of 20.27 seconds, shaving 0.45 seconds off his best performance just 2 weeks prior. Now, this new time ranks him second in LSU performance history. So the entire history of that university, he's now with the very best time. So he set a school record. And he is fourth ranked overall in the U.S. And get this, fifth in the world. Not bad for a little Caymanian boy.
Not too shabby.
Not too shabby.
Is it me? All. Is it just me, or have you noticed that more and more Caymanians are doing stuff now? I mean, making some waves.
Making some waves, and I want to see more of it. So, Jaden, if you're listening, more importantly, Mom and Dad, if you're here at home, well done for raising a runner.
Yeah.
That's one for kids with a lot of energy, They didn't, try to bridle him in. They let him go and sent him to a school to run around some more.
my mind went when you said runners to some of them guava switches they be chasing you with. It's like, how did you become a good runner? Well, in my country, you see, if you misbehave, you get chased with a switch. So you got to learn to run.
Started running at a young age.
At a very early age.
From a very, very early age.
Yeah.
Well, again, congratulations to Jaden Reed, both for himself personally, obviously his school, LSU. That 5th ranking in the world, boy, that says a lot of things about little old Cayman Islands. And,
we're getting there.
Never, ever, ever count us out yet, Jack. We can surprise you all yet.
Yeah.
So that's fantastic.
Yeah, we just need, as we talked about for the last couple of days, just more and more community support.
Yes.
Again, whether it's a couple of dollars out of the pocket, putting it in the helmet, sending it on, or even just coming out and representing, applauding, giving words of support.
No.
Again, we had Pamela in here chatting the same thing with Girl Power.
Yes.
So
and
it's
Miss
good.
Cayman World suggesting when we ask, what's the difference between why we can't break into that international market? And a lot of it comes from, social media support for the charities that our girls participate in.
Yeah.
They're going up against likes that are in Colombia and Venezuela and Czechoslovakia versus the likes that they may otherwise receive from here at home. So, if every one of us put a like
Right,
next
that's what I was just
to-
going to say. I mean, right away, the moment you should be getting on, clicking, following, liking, right away.
Yeah.
Show your support.
Absolutely. Like all of the girls' work.
Yeah, absolutely. Everyone.
Population 85,000, give or take. That's a lot of likes coming from this little
That's a
island.
good start.
That's a very, very good start. So, we have to support and build up each other, the next
Correct.
generation. And we believe strongly in paying it forward. However height we may think we have gone, whatever heights we may have achieved is only surpassed by the heights that the next person will get
We
to.
can go further.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So congratulations again to Jaden on that fantastic, phenomenal performance and your continued performance at the world stage.
Thank you for that bit of good news there, Austin.
There's
That was
one
great.
more bit of good news,
Okay.
which I also think fits in line with discussions we've had either this week or in previous weeks. We were talking, reminiscing, being nostalgic, if you will, of when you and I were much younger men, and referring to, in particular, the opportunities we both were afforded in high school to learn how to scuba dive. And for lack of a better word, it was the first introduction into what could have been a potential career, should we have decided to obviously
go that
matriculate
route,
in
yeah.
that direction. Well, another article that appeared in the Cayman Compass under the title, Young Caymanians Given the Chance to Dive into an Ocean Career. Let me read you a few snippets, if you will allow me. Young Caymanians who are passionate about the ocean are being invited to apply for one of 10 fully funded scholarships to attend the Central Caribbean Marine Institute's 2025 Young Environmentalist Leadership course. The Institute is seeking enthusiastic students to attend its 4-month course in which they will learn to dive, study marine science, and develop professional skills, which could be the ideal foundation for a career in marine science or conservation. Now, the opportunity is exclusively for young Caymanians and those with permanent resident status, aged 16 to 20, who were recent graduates or are in their final year of school and are interested in a career in marine science, environmental conservation, or ecotourism. The program, which begins in April in Grand Cayman, will equip participants with essential PADI diving certification, things like you and I got, but will take it a step further from the, obviously, the open water certification all the way through the rescue diver course and emergency response training. Then, in August, in the final month of the program, students will attend a 7-day residential experience at the Little Cayman Research Center. During this week, students will engage in real-world marine research, assist with citizen science projects, and develop career-building skills through networking and workshops. Applications must include a completed form, a letter of recommendation, and 2 reference contacts. So very serious. You might as well be applying for a job here.
I was going to say, sounds pretty heavy
sounds
duty.
Very heavy duty. But again, the opportunity is also, I think, I dare say, unmatched thus far. The deadline is 5 p.m. on the 21st of March, so we have at least another week, maybe more.
It sounds like you and I are playing.
Uh-huh.
You said, we have. I said, it sounds almost like you and I are playing.
Well, I'll tell you what, if I was younger, I probably would. I would rethink my whole life. And some of the steps I took, your lips to God's ears. If I had it to do all over
If
again.
I could do it all again.
If I could do it all over again, I would make some different choices, brother. But anyway, young persons, 16 through 20, this is your opportunity. It's not about us. It's about you. Persons are encouraged to check out the link either in today's Cayman Compass under the title Young Caymanians Given the Chance to Dive into an Ocean Career, or by checking out the Central Caribbean Marine Institute's website, which can be found at reefsearch.org. I think this is also great news, fantastic opportunity, and kudos to the CCMI for doing their bit for, paying it forward to the next generation. I think we need to encourage these things.
Absolutely. Lots of good news today. It's a surprise. We get a little lull, and then all of a sudden, we've got 2 or 3 ringers.
Quite right. And I know I was listening to myself and hearing your voice ringing in the back of my head when I put these 2 things down. And, we'd be like, Austin Ellio would recommend you pick one today and save the next one for tomorrow.
Just in case.
Just in case.
Just in case there's a dip.
This good news thing is a good thing. It's a good feeling. It's a good way to start the show. But without good news, boy, it can be a little rough to wing it.
Yeah, well, if worst case we have to jump in and just get dirty, we just have to get dirty.
We just have to get dirty, and that's all right.
We've been known, to get down in the dirt a little bit.
Once or twice, and if you forgot, well, coming up at the 5 o'clock hour in about 3 minutes, with your permission, I think I'm getting a little dirty.
Put at least one glove on.
I put at least one. That's the way to put it.
Yeah.
I'll fight with one hand behind my back, and I'll even fight with my left hand.
Right.
But I'll be like Tyson. I'm an ambidextrous kind of guy.
Well, they have been warned, so hopefully they'll keep listening.
They have been warned. But I have a topic that I also read today that, again, it really got on my nerves.
Which one's this?
I'll tell you at 5 o'clock.
Oh.
We want to encourage the listening audience to
tune
in.
Right, you sure know how to tease the crowd,
I do try.
Listen to me at 5.
We want to keep the listeners entertained, but, glued to 103.1 FM or not to YouTube and Instagram.
You've heard it right here on Straight Talk. My colleague will be coming out in the rings, punching. So
we'll be coming out, swinging at the
bell, right?
At the bell, with one hand tied behind his back, so that as to not. Here is ding, the beginning of the first round.
Remember that little cartoon, Chicken Hawk? He's coming out swinging.
I'm a chicken hawk. Want me to cook you on top of the oven?
Yeah, we want to hear you coming out swinging, Austin. So we look forward to that. We are looking forward to that.
745-2626 is the number. Whether you want to call in on the 5 o'clock, after the 5 o'clock hour, and the top issue of the day. Again, with my colleague's permission, I will ventilate. May not be good news. It won't be good news for everybody. Some feelings will probably get hurt, and that is not the intention. But, sometimes you got to call a spade, and, well, I saw this, I read this, it annoyed me, and, well, I have to share that annoyance to get it off my chest because it's cheaper than therapy.
Yeah, well, I'll be right here with you.
That is why you are a good friend and colleague.
I'm almost going to interview you just to make sure I squeeze everything out of the lemon there.
Almost, not almost, definitely the best choice I could possibly make in terms of on-air partnerships. And I mean that. And again, we talk about it all the time, but Ellio and I together, this is not our first rodeo, but boy, it sure feels like yesterday that we were just doing this thing.
Yeah.
No time has passed at all.
Well, you fit right back into it, so that's the thing. And I'm not even sure I picked you or you picked me. It's just kind of like it just happened.
I think again, not to give anybody else credit, and I won't name that other person. I think it was just good old-fashioned business decision making.
Yeah.
Somebody made the right call and put you and I together, and as we say, it was lightning in a bottle from day one.
It was interesting when you were talking about growing up and making choices, right?
20 seconds.
That reminded me of another country song just in the 20 seconds. I made choices since the day that I was born. Anyway, we can go for the break.
I'll tell you what, if this was a country station, boy, we would be rocking it. Keep it locked. There'll be more Straight Talk and the issues of the day coming up next.
Welcome to our newsroom here in central London. We place ourselves here at a little desk right in the thick of things.
OS from the BBC.
We can catch the very latest news from our colleagues, not just in this enormous room, but also from our colleagues around the world.
I'm in the room where they're treating children.
This is a combat zone.
The situation after the typhoon is very complicated.
It was a very tense situation.
OS from the BBC.
The home of the BBC World Service. This is Bobo FM.
BBC News.
BBC News.
World news from the BBC. Violent clashes.
Thick black smoke.
A tremendous legal victory.
Crucial elections.
Destructive winds.
A search and recovery operation.
A race against time.
An imminent threat.
Flying a drone over a rival team's training session.
Whatever is happening, wherever it's happening, catch up with the latest news bulletins from the BBC.
The home of the BBC World Service. This is Bobo FM. Bobo FM. We're making Bobo FM bigger and better. We've got a brand new frequency with even more power. Retune your FM radio to 103.1 now. This is Bobo FM, the home of the BBC World Service, the most trusted news source in the world. Now in our new home of 103.1 FM. This is Bobo 103.1.
For business, they say location, location, location. But really, there's no better location than right here, right now on your mobile phone or laptop. Buy and sell your pre-owned gear where the island is searching online. Buy and sell on ektrade.com. That's ektrade.com.
Across Cayman on 103.1 FM, online, and on your smart speaker. Powered by Health Services Authority, the home of the BBC World Service. This is Bobo 103.1.
Hello, I'm Moira Alderson with the BBC News. Donald Trump has confirmed that US officials are travelling to Russia to discuss a proposed 30-day ceasefire with Ukraine. Kiev accepted the proposals during a meeting in Saudi Arabia on Tuesday, led by the US Secretary of State Marco Rubio. Mr. Trump said an agreement from Moscow would stop most of the killing.
I think that would be 80% of the way to getting this horrible bloodbath finished. It's a bloodbath is taking place over there. On average, 2,000 to 3,000 young people a week are being killed in that stupid war that would have never happened if I were president.
The Kremlin earlier said it would wait to be briefed by American officials before commenting on the proposal. Meanwhile, the Kremlin says President Putin has visited a command post in the Kursk region, where Russia has been retaking territory that was seized by Ukrainian forces last year. Here's our Europe regional editor, Danny Eberhard.
The Kremlin posted a short video of President Putin meeting his military chief, General Valery Gerasimov. If it's confirmed to have taken place in Kursk, it would be the first time Mr. Putin has visited the region since Ukrainian troops seized territory there in August. In televised remarks, he's expressed confidence that all such occupied territory would soon be completely liberated. Ukraine has lost much of the land it originally captured, and its hold on what it retains looks increasingly tenuous. Ukraine's commander-in-chief has acknowledged that his country's troops have pulled back from certain positions in Kursk.
Ministers from Europe's 5 main military powers have ended a meeting in Paris focusing on defence priorities in the phase of uncertainty about United States policy. Gatherings of the recently formed E5 group of nations, France, Britain, Germany, Italy and Poland, are expected to become a regular occurrence. France said the aim was twofold: to step up military aid to Ukraine as the best guarantee of future security and to outline European priorities for defence spending. The Pakistani military says an operation to rescue hundreds of train passengers taken hostage by separatist rebels in the southwest province of Balochistan has ended. Officials said more than 300 hostages had been freed from the train, which was seized by militants from the Baluch Liberation Army on Tuesday. Atullah Tara is the Pakistani information minister.
We thank God Almighty the operation that was underway in Balochistan has reached its logical conclusion. In this operation, 33 terrorists were killed. Before and during the operation, with skill, bravery and courage, the soldiers of the Pakistan Army and the Air Force fought these terrorists, the people who were wearing suicide jackets and had hostages sitting around them, who were our brave citizens.
Security officials have been quoted as saying that some rebels may have left the train, taking an unknown number of passengers with them. BBC News. Some of America's biggest trading partners have unveiled countermeasures after President Trump's blanket tariffs on steel and aluminium imports to the United States took effect. Canada announced additional duties on more than $20 billion worth of US goods from Thursday, while the European Union said it would impose retaliatory tariffs on goods worth $28 billion from next month. The former president of the Philippines, Rodrigo Duterte, is in the custody of the International Criminal Court in The Hague after arriving in the Netherlands from Manila. He was detained on an ICC arrest warrant on charges of murder as a crime against humanity in connection with his war on drugs. In a video recorded in midair and posted on social media, Mr. Duterte said he took full responsibility for his actions as president.
At sinasabi ko naman sa mga pulis.
I've been telling the police, the military, that it was my job and I'm responsible. So this is it. For all the whatever happened in the past, I'm the one who led our law enforcement and military. I said that I'll protect you and I will be responsible for all of this.
A New York judge has ruled that a Palestinian student protester detained by immigration officials must be allowed a private call with his lawyers as they seek his release. Mahmoud Khalil, a permanent US resident, was arrested as part of the Trump administration's crackdown on activists protesting the conduct of Israel's war in Gaza. Mr. Khalil has not been charged with any crime. Scientists say that fossilized bone fragments unearthed in a cave in Spain are the cheek and jaw of the most ancient human face to be discovered in Western Europe. They're believed to belong to a member of a now extinct human species, Homo erectus, who lived more than 1 million years ago. Homo erectus skulls found in Eurasia date back nearly 2 million years, when the first early human species left the African continent. That's the latest BBC News.
The views and opinions expressed on Straight Talk with Austin and Ellio do not necessarily reflect or represent the views of Stingray Media, its staff, or contributors. Callers to the program accept full responsibility for the views expressed. The show host and affiliates are not liable for any statements made or any harm claimed. All callers to the program indemnify Straight Talk from all claims. Offensive, defamatory, or unlawful content will not be tolerated. Be a part of the conversation by calling 745-2626. Now, here's Straight Talk with Austin and Ellio on Bobo 103.1.
And welcome back, K-Man. I'm your host, Austin Harris.
And I'm Ellio Solomon, and welcome back to Straight Talk.
Brought to you live on your radio dial on 103.1 FM and simulcast on YouTube and Instagram. The phone lines are open at 745-2626, or you can reach out to us via WhatsApp at 928-2562 by sending us either a voice note or the traditional WhatsApp text message. 7 minutes is the time in studios, and we are moving away from our good news start of the day onto what I think is a primary issue. And as I said to my colleague during the break, with his permission, I would like an opportunity to ventilate a subject that I read in today's Compass, again, that kind of irritated me. And maybe I'm the only one, but I don't think I am. But let's talk about it. So there's an article in today's Compass that has the title, Top Lawyer Backs Jury Duty for Permanent Residents. Now, just let me share a few snippets from the article, because I can only take it in small doses. It says, Cayman's jury pool should be widened by the inclusion of long-term residents alongside cuts to a long list of exemptions to service. That was the verdict of some of the Cayman Islands' most prominent lawyers, who argued it was getting harder to fill juries from the ranks of Caymanians alone. Richard Barton, the president of the Cayman Islands Legal Practitioners Association, said the country would benefit from permanent residents being added to the jury pool alongside Caymanians who are registered to vote. Well, without mincing words, Ellio, I would like to go on record as saying that I absolutely, positively think this is the wrong direction for this country to take. Because this is how it happens. Today, the recommendation is that we allow PR holders to sit on juries. Tomorrow, it will be allowing PR holders the right to register to vote. And then the final nail in the coffin will be when we are allowing ourselves to be asked, if not to prevaricate and say nay to the fact that status holders should have the right to hold office. Because believe me, when that day comes, if we allow it to, we will never recognize these, our beloved Cayman Islands, again. And I feel very strongly about this point. But to be honest with you, I was surprised when I was reading the article to see that the article came and the suggestion came from Mr. Barton himself, somebody that I got a lot of time for. I got a lot of respect for, you know, what he's done in his profession and certainly the positions he has taken, in particular, his public positions taken on through his involvement with the Business Staffing Plan Board. He has always, to my belief, taken very pro-Caymanian positions. You know, he believes in supporting, as we stated earlier on, that, you know, somebody's got to be in charge, and, well, we say it's the Caymanians until somebody comes up with a better idea. So you will imagine and again, I thought that this differs from his general tact. And then I also thought to myself, well, you know, let's let Richard Mr. Barton off the hook a little bit. You know, maybe he felt pressured. Maybe he was just simply expressing the opinion of the Legal Practitioners Association and their members, which of course he's the president. Sometimes you got to, you know, take the majority opinion of your members that you may not necessarily share, but share it nonetheless, because that's your job.
It's a collective responsibility.
It's a collective responsibility, like, that's right, with the Germans. So you will imagine my surprise when I read that he further acknowledged, and I quote again from the news article, Barton, who emphasized he was speaking in a personal capacity, said the restriction had the potential to limit the availability of jurors due to the inherent conflicts that may arise in certain cases where, for instance, there are multiple defendants charged. Now, I will acknowledge and agree that, you know, the courts are having a hard time filling their jury boxes. But of course, I will also press on to suggest, also going on a conversation we had yesterday, this is not in no small part due to the fact that there's a large percentage of the population that has, you know, been given a criminal record for simple things such as, in my opinion, you know, the simple possession of marijuana, which according to the rest of the world would be a misdemeanor and wouldn't appear on your record at all. But at the rate in which we are criminalizing the Caymanian population, we shouldn't be surprised that we're having difficulty finding persons to sit on jury pools. But I do not believe for 1 second that, again, moving the goalposts to allow permanent resident holders to sit in that role is the solution. Now, I don't want to be overly critical without providing what I think could be an alternative solution. And theoretically, the more I think about it, it could serve to kill, you know, two birds with one stone. If you look at the Cayman Islands 2022 census, and I will quote, a total of 14,664 persons attended school, which included 12,576 full-time students, 1,877 part-time students, and 212 homeschooled students. Public school attendance totaled 7,091, while private schools totaled 7,362. Now, regrettably, and I looked, the census did not stipulate how many of those numbers actually graduate out of Cayman schools every year. But in our previous discussions, we guesstimated it to be in the region of at least 800 students. But if we were to break it down, given what data we do have, if we look at that in 2024, and this was an article published in the media as well, Clifton Hunter graduated 151 students in 2024. If we assume John Gray graduated a similar number, that takes you to just above 300. And then if you combine all of the private schools in Cayman and give that a number of 300, you have at least 600 students graduating out of high schools every year. Now, if we make the concerted effort, because we recognize that not every student who graduates high school in the Cayman Islands graduates at age 18, but if we make the concerted effort whilst they are still in school and certainly at the preparation when they get out of school through graduation, that every person who's achieved the legal age of 18 and is Caymanian should be encouraged to register to vote. Now, what will that do? That will mean that we make it an annual exercise to update the register poll and not wait every 4 years when there is an election to engage in this whole voter drive, because we want to encourage as many voters to come out. And again, we want new voters who don't know any better to maintain the status quo. So not only will that help the registered voter pool, part of their democratic duty, they get registered to vote, and now they're added to the jury pool as potential selection for new jurors, making up for any shortfall or gaps in which Caymanians might otherwise not make up those numbers. Because like anywhere else in the world, and I know the article went on to suggest that this could be adopted similar to how places like Bermuda and Turks and Caicos have done it. First of all, I think Turks and Caicos is a terrible example given their history to put them in that same grouping. And in the Bermuda case, we have oftentimes heard it, that the relationship between the UK and Bermuda exists only in that case. It'll never be that, freeing or otherwise, advance the Constitution ever again. The UK won't make that deal again.
We've heard that.
We've heard that. And that goes on to suggest that, the deal that we got in our, 2009 Constitution is the best that we can hope for. But you will acknowledge, certainly being, involved in that process, that there were carve-outs and caveats that both sides didn't get. And I would dare say, taking a step further, that the UK have been planting the seeds of this wider rights along the same times that Constitution took effect. We were, receiving and embracing the European Convention on International Human Rights,
right,
where again we adopted here in the Cayman Islands, arguably as a good thing or a bad thing. That is a subject we can debate for another. Not only the voter base, but particularly those persons who could run for public office past the Caymanian, and thankfully those on the Cayman contingent side said, no, you can't have that. And if we can't have full internal democracy or otherwise, then you can't, full internal self-governance, then you can't have, this otherwise nuclear option. Now, I think that, listen, I think it's a bad idea, but I also think that, it's, as they say, it's the slow knife, the knife that takes its time, the knife that waits years, never forgetting, but then quietly slips between the bones and cuts the deepest. This is one of those subjects and one of these recommendations that I believe personally, if we even begin to venture off into this territory, if we even attempt to wade into these waters, we are setting ourselves up for complete and utter disaster, if not dismantlement.
So I definitely think I know where you're going with that. But just, I don't want to put the words in your mouth. So clarify exactly what you see as this potential nightmare that's going to happen.
Well, first of all, I think that the right to, be a part of the jury should go hand in hand with the right to be registered to vote, as it is in most countries in the world. And that should go only to native-born persons. Despite what Bermuda and Turks and Caicos may be doing to widen, their existing positions. And again, the Bermuda relationship is unique. And then the Turks and Caicos, well, they've had their own share of problems. Hopefully they have learned from them. But at one stage, the UK had to step in and take control of the Turks and Caicos as to make a point. So to put Turks and Caicos in the same category or bracket as saying, well, Turks and Caicos did it, so we in the Cayman Islands should do it, is wrong. Especially when you consider the rest of the free world reserves that right for native-born persons, both the right to register to vote and the right to sit on jury pools. And I don't think the Cayman Islands should be any different. Because, again, I believe in this country, and again, we've been talking about this for a month, whether it be the labor law, whether it be the traffic law, whether it be the gambling law, we have made rules in this country, but surely, slowly but surely, move those boundary posts further and further forward to the point where those rules really don't have any weight, any value, no meaning whatsoever. Therefore, we shouldn't be surprised with the end results that we experience as a result of it. And in this instance, and again, when it talks about the labor law and this whole nonsense that employers don't have to train, but now they're looking for experienced candidates, you know, so now not only do the Caymanians have to, you know, compete against, you know, whoever comes off the plane this week, but now they're competing against persons with real world experience, which again, the average school leaver does not have. You know, it will take time for that average school leaver to go on a university. But even then, they come back with academic knowledge and have no clue as to how to do a hands-on job unless they're taught so by their employer. But somehow along the lines over the years, we've moved the goalposts to make it okay that employers can hire whoever they want. And these are the requirements and make it easier for work permit numbers to, you know, take the place of Caymanians. And I think in this instance, this is one of those areas that we just cannot afford to water down because it won't happen overnight. Make no mistake about it. That's why I said the example of the slow knife. This is one of those things that will come like a thief in the night. One morning we gonna wake up and go, what happened to Cayman?
Yeah.
Well, the word bobo is no longer exclusive to me. It's something else. That's how it'll happen. But it will start with this nonsense of changing the rules of the road, so to speak.
Well, you know, just to join,
maybe it's me.
No. I don't think it's you. I think anyone that really steps back and try to take a circumspect view of exactly what is occurring in the country should be able to see that and not belittle that position, but not only just on that, on a myriad of different things. I will start with the analogy of the frog, and there's two analogies that they use. The first and perhaps most popular one is where if you take a frog and you throw him into boiling water, then the frog will jump out immediately. Right. This is not good for me.
Right.
But if you take the same pot and you start off with a nice room temperature water and just let him soak in there for a little while and slowly keep cranking up the stove, well, I guess you can just leave it on.
Yeah.
The frog will supposedly stay in there until he cooks.
That's what they say.
That's what they say. Supposedly it stays there until he cooks. The other one is that frogs see things that move rather quickly, and I like this one. Frogs tend to be the guy who can, you know, mosquito, bzz, grab the mosquito out of the air.
Yeah.
But he can't see the snake that's moving very slowly.
In the grass.
Right? It's like his eyes are programmed for things that are big, things that are quick, you know, that sort of way. And human beings tend to be like that. We notice things that just, well, that moved kind of quickly. I can see that one. Or this, you know, we have certain, that one glitters. I saw the glitter on the road. I even turned my car around to see if I could pick up what it was.
Yeah.
We see certain things, but there are those things that are sneaking up on us slowly that nobody recognizes.
Yes.
So not to drag it on to sexual harassment, but I said the same thing the other day. Yeah. In every country in the world, there are different cultures, there are different ways of doing things. And you can't take a cookie-cutter approach and say, well, this seems to be what the sexual harassment is in the UK or what it is in the US, and we'll take that and put it here in Cayman. No, I don't think so. But to jump on what I think you could definitely say is a very important issue, and what came to my mind immediately when you said it, was if it's the requirement right now that a Caymanian be a registered voter in order to be a juror. So are permanent residents registered voters?
No, not yet.
Then, even then, you would have to say, well, how do they qualify?
Correct.
And the other thing is if you're seeing that with permanent residents, voting is not a necessity, then why do you see it as a necessity with Caymanians?
Yes.
Then you immediately increase the pool by removing the voting requirement.
Right. Those who
so that would seem like the most logical move. Remove the requirement to be a registered voter as a means to be a juror.
Right.
If you're even entertaining having a permanent residence.
Yes.
And the other thing is that, you know, you're supposed to have a juror of your peers.
Yes.
And you say that peers because, and that can be a very broad term, but I think you can get a little bit more narrow as well. It's not just someone that you sit and say, oh, well, this guy's the same age as me. You can start to get a little bit more specific. Well, he went to school with me? But I think if you really go on it, it's a matter of somebody that lives in your country, lives with you, understands your culture, understands your way of thinking, etc. And why that is important is because the jury of your peer really sits in the court, as far as I know, to satisfy what they call that reasonable man's test.
Yeah.
In other words, it is only Ellio, as a Caymanian, that can judge Austin as a Caymanian and say, no, Austin, come on now.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying, but
I hear
that
what
don't
you
pass the smell test.
No, that don't pass the test, Austin, because to me, if I were in that same situation, I wasn't going to do that.
Yeah.
All right?
Quite right.
So let me use sexual harassment.
Yeah.
Austin walks up to a young lady, and he says, oh, my God, you're beautiful. According to the sexual harassment law, you'd probably be guilty of sexual harassment.
Mm-hmm.
But as a juror of your peers, I would say I don't think that's enough to tell me that that's sexual harassment.
Right.
And then they now tell me, well, she told him, please don't make those comments. And he made it again. No, I would say as a Caymanian, come on now, Austin. The girl already told you she wasn't interested. Yep. She made it clear.
Right.
Abundantly clear. And so this is...
What you press your luck for?
This is again when we talk about your peers. Whereas if I'm looking at a person from some other country who has now gotten permanent residency, he or she is not necessarily using that example in the same frame of mind.
Right.
He would judge you, or she would judge you in a completely different way.
Correct.
I've lived in Florida all my life. Oh my God, just walking up to a total stranger and saying you look beautiful. This is ridiculous.
Right. Karen.
And, and so you would be judged completely different.
Yes.
And it's because he or she is not your peer.
Yeah.
She has not grown up in the environment. They have not faced similar circumstances to you. So I am in complete agreement with what you're saying. And if this group of persons legitimately want to expand the base, then I think they've given the answer inadvertently. You just remove the voting requirement for Caymanians.
Yeah.
That's the way you solve the problem.
Yeah.
Another way I think you can look at it too is I have no problem with permanent residency, but permanent residency, first of all, I think it needs to be done in a way that how can I put it, channels person to really become cultured in the society, but to really become a member of society.
Correct.
Where I'm happy that you're walking dogs, I don't think that alone, for example, should qualify you.
Yeah.
And you can keep going right down the list because I have absolutely nothing wrong with walking dogs.
No.
But you want to be able to know that the person is assimilating, and there should be more things that allows you to be able to determine that this person has made a genuine effort to become a part of the society.
Sure. How many Caymanian friends you have?
How many Caymanian
Have
friends?
you tried fish rundown?
Right.
What do you think about cassava cake?
Myriad of different things.
Those are important traits I want to know about.
That allows you, and you can probably use the same juror thing to say, is this person now so drenched, dipped, baptized in the Caymanian culture that he or she understands the culture arguably so well that you could sit and now say this person can stand and judge another Caymanian.
Can I get a hallelujah from the choir?
Amen.
Hallelujah.
Can I get an amen?
Hallelujah.
So is that person now baptized enough in the Caymanian culture that they are able to sit across and look at a Caymanian and say, come on, boy, you're not giving me that today.
Yeah.
I've been around a long time.
That's right.
And if you can't do that, then we have an issue. Because permanent residence is the conveyor belt to become a Caymanian. And we want that.
Yeah.
But that conveyor belt has to be one that by the time you reach the end of the line that says you have reached the end of the product line, you're ready to be wrapped.
Yes.
And you're ready to be knighted.
Yes.
You're ready to get a piece of paper that says you're a Caymanian.
Yes.
Then by golly, let's make sure that this person has been properly assimilated.
Yes.
So much so, let's use the same juror test, that we feel 100% confident that you can now sit at the table and make a good judgment about a Caymanian because you're so drenched, so dipped and so baptized in the Caymanian culture that you can do that.
No,
and so I would say at this point in time, even with the present system, no knock to anyone, I don't think that that's the situation. And I'm inclined to agree with everything that you've said. And I have mentioned this many times, and I know whenever you bring up anything about the UK and Cayman, you have a little group of people, they come out of the woodworks like a bunch of Uncle Toms, and they'll tell you, oh, yeah, you're trying to preach for, what do you call it? Independence. Yeah, the big I. It's like a cancer word.
Yeah, you should be afraid of it.
I'm not preaching for independence.
Right.
What I am preaching for is for you to open your eyes, right? And at the same time, it is a matter that you need to understand. I don't care if you get up and say, Ellio, I see a train coming. I'm on the track. At the present trajectory, Ellio, I'm going to be crushed completely by this train. But Ellio, I'm sitting right here. I'm not moving. I want to be crushed. Then I'm going to say, perfect. I have no problem with that because you went into that eyes wide open.
Right. Close my eyes and put it in drive.
Yeah, listen to me. I can tell you right now. I can tell you right now, if you're big enough to kill yourself, I'm man enough to bury you. Okay? But
I got a rug at home and a shovel ready to go.
Right. But here's what I am going to say. If you're standing on a train track with your back turned, I want to check and say, Austin, you did a couple of reverse turns. You remember that kind of trip feeling you had? That's a track.
Yeah.
You're on a track now, Austin.
Yeah.
A train track.
A train track, that is.
You see, I feel it's
that light you see is not the end of the tunnel, but
I feel it's a good neighbor obligation to tell you that you're on a train track.
Yes, sir.
All right? It would be wrong of me if I don't point out that you're on a train track right now. Yeah. And if you look at me and say, Ellio, you idiot, I know I'm on a train track. Yeah. Okay, do you know now that the train's coming?
Right.
I know that too. Okay, fine. Trust me, Austin. You know, I might check and see if there's anything valuable on you that I can take home with me, but I am not going to worry about you. I am not, because you made a wide-eyed, open decision.
Yeah.
And so this is why I continue to highlight some of the things that I see the UK doing. And one of the things, there's an article in the Compass today on beneficial ownership, which I'm hoping to be able to discuss and ventilate with proper persons involved. Let's keep it nebulous. Let's keep it nice and vague. Yeah.
But that's going to be another big.
This is going to be a great discussion
show when we tell you all about that one.
Yeah,
but I'm not going to say no more.
But when you look at that, even the article that you see there today, you will see coming from a person that is learned, and by the way, I think British himself, is showing you that there were absolutely no reason why we had to implement this beneficial ownership, because it is not some global standard,
right?
That it has been sold to us and sold by our politicians as being a global standard. It is not.
It's those seeds that were sown in our soil by, well, let's call it what it is.
And so there's a myriad of different things. And you come back home and you try to tell the public. I was involved in that very first round of discussions on the Constitution. We went to Lancaster House. We negotiated the Constitution. I was taken to certain countries, jerseys, and the list goes on, and they're preaching to you.
Yeah.
Well, people come here, and after they stay here for a period of time, they can vote. And, you know, and they're inculcating you. They're dripping the rain on you, right?
What's good for the UK is not always good for Cayman.
Okay, and that's what I would say. Hey, I'm happy for you.
Yeah, good for you.
Enjoy yourself.
Let me know how that works out for you.
Let me know how that works out. Yeah. You do you, and I'll do me.
I'll do me, exactly.
So
it's like explaining to them our duty tax versus income tax.
Yeah.
They're just
it's the same thing. And
they can't see it.
Yeah, correct. And so you come back and you're trying to tell your people, I want you to pay attention to this because this is important. Somebody's dragging you down. You know, it's just like I made a post on my Facebook page about the regiment.
Yeah.
Oh, the regiment is sold to Cayman now. Why do we need an army? Oh, well, let me tell you why you need an army. Because hurricanes come in and you need help. Well, let me see. We're discovered in 1503. It is now 2020 in the year of our Lord. And we've only now discovered that we need an army? I don't think so. No, armies are there to deal with insurgencies, to deal with rebellions and etc. That's what an army is for. And I can try to sell it, you know, the National Guard and they do that, but that's not what their role is. And so a fundamental question is for you to ask, what could happen in this country? What could happen in the Cayman Islands that would make this little quiet, docile group of people called Caymanians the nicest people on the planet? What could possibly make them rebel? And I can tell you what's going to make them rebel. And I can tell you why the army is here. And you can mark my words for it just in case a truck hits me and I'm not here tomorrow. You can play the quote.
Sure.
It is because at some point, very soon, they're going to force us to implement exactly what they wanted us to implement in 2009, property tax. And there's going to be a lot of good, hard-working Caymanians that are probably not going to be docile anymore.
Yeah.
And just in the event that that docility has disappeared, I will have you at the end of a rifle. That's why it's here. And you can bring it on the end on the guys that you want. That's the Trojan horse, okay? And there's a myriad of different things like that. And just because I'm saying that it's raining doesn't mean I'm calling for a drought.
Right.
I am simply telling you, keep your eyes open. and make sure that Caymanians maintain ownership. I have known of companies, I don't have to call the name because they're not paying for advertisement, but a family owning a company, global, 250,000 employees around the world. Caymanians don't have to worry about increasing our numbers. What we need in the parliament are people who understand and are willing to stand and fight to ensure that it is Caymanians who own and make the rules and regulations within the Cayman Islands.
Absolutely.
And when they sit there and let somebody come into your household, and do what they want, then who do you blame? You blame the owner for the yard.
No, indeed. And notwithstanding, again, the usage of the regiment, certainly, I think you've given a clear outline of what very well the extreme end conclusion could result in. But if I can focus specifically on your very astute observation as it relates to property tax. So we ask ourselves the question, if we see the game for what it is, and we see the game for how it is played, again, these subjects don't just happen overnight. You don't have a politician show up, tomorrow and say, listen, I have a bill to present. These things, these slow,
sneaking up on you,
very key and integral changes happen slowly. We don't even notice it, like the bullfrog slowly boiling in boiling water. But how do we stave it off? Again, this goes back to conversations we have, and again, I got to thank Sue Winspear, the most latest Auditor General, to point it out, but she's not the first, because before her, Dan Duguay, you remember that guy?
Yeah,
Dan Duguay, our good friend, who certainly also, warned of it. This is why, and again, Ellio made the point earlier on, what we need to do is not hold remembrances of COVID and Hurricane Ivan, but hold regular, honest to goodness, whether it be think tank discussions or otherwise, to ask ourselves, what did we learn from these horrible experiences so as to not repeat it again in the future? The same argument applies to financial independence, and you've said it before many times in a previous life. The only true form of independence is financial independence. And that is how we stave off the need or the temptation of introducing property tax, no matter whose good idea it may be. If we are not careful, if we do not have leaders that are frugal and are minding the public purse carefully, this is another stain on the last administration, though there are some who are now competing for elections we talked about yesterday that would have you believe that they were not part of the last administration. Yesterday we mentioned the CCP, but I, heard one or two PPM members make that same comment, also this weekend, suggesting that, they were not responsible, but they were. But if we are spending 51% and collecting 25%, we have a spending problem.
Yeah.
We have a potential risk of going down into a debt spiral. We need not be reminded or ask anybody what this feels like, because we went through it. We barely got out of it. But before we got out of it, we had the principles for, I forget the terminology, but basically the UK had to approve our financing. We couldn't go, as our leaders couldn't go to Parliament and approve a budget on their own, but they could go and vote for it. But then the UK had to put a stamp of approval on it to make sure that we weren't, quote unquote, spending more, above our means. This is why we bang that drum loud and clear over and over again, regardless of who is in office, because it is important. You see the Cayman Islands and the Cayman Islands people backed into another corner financially when we've spent through all of our surpluses. We've no longer are prudent in our financial management. We believe that, we got 19 leaders, 19 elected persons. They all have a wish list. Give them all the wish list. Don't worry about priorities. Don't worry about setting standards. Give it to everybody so they can stay in office for 20 years. And we believe that's what we need. But it's the slow knife.
Yeah.
And it is that every dollar we spend that we don't bring in back is a step closer away from financial independence, and therefore encouraging, if not inviting, property taxes. So there are real threats to this country. There are real threats to this country's way of life as we recognize it as Caymanians. But we must also recognize that whilst the threats are real, there are also ways in which to avoid and stave off these threats. But how seriously do we look at it?
And I will go further, right? And again, these are just my opinions, even though I think that the information is there to allow us to infer, not to assume, but to infer, to logically conclude. And thank you, by the way, Austin, for acknowledging it was my quote. You know, only true form of independence is financial independence. I appreciate that because you have a lot of quote thieves, by the way. Let's call it, let's be nice. Quote, long-term borrowers.
Borrowers. Again, you can have your own opinion, but you can have your own facts.
Yeah. So either way, but you know, the situation to understand is that the UK has the ability, and to me, it is very difficult to convince me that they are not allowing. And let's just be clear, it's not just the previous administration. It was many administrations prior to that too.
Yeah,
and I'm not,
guilty of it.
and again, I'm not going to call the colors and the parties. I'm not going to, because that's not, to me, what is important. What is important is that our eyes are open, that we are on a train track, right?
Yeah.
And keeping with that theme, I want to say the UK, you cannot convince me that the UK is not allowing it to happen. And to me, the UK allowed successive governments, particularly at the end point, to engage in wanton disregard for the spending of the people's money. And they did it, and they felt they had us just where they wanted us in 2009, when the Secretary of State, Chris Bryant, wrote us in 2009 saying, implement property tax, 2%.
Yeah.
They felt they had us there.
Yeah.
And no one can tell me that the UK is not almost deliberately allowing all this spending to go on. Because they can jump in and say, I know you guys don't want to have the phone tapping, but we're going to bring it in, order in council. They can involve and say, we're not going to allow you to have that project because we don't think it's right. But you're sitting there at the table and no one questions, you're spending 107 million, but you're only bringing in 65.
Mm-hmm.
We're concerned about this?
Right.
No. They deliberately do it, right? And I'm going to tell you, back to some of my environmentalist friends who are, some of them are Caymanians, I want people to understand that as far as I'm concerned, they are unwittingly playing a role that the UK wants to play. And remind me a touch about this bill again.
Yes.
This environmental stuff, let's just ask yourself, if I want to point you in a direction, and I said this in the House of Parliament, even when they came with the FFR, and kudos to the government.
That's what it was, by the way, the framework for fiscal responsibility. That's the word the phrase I was searching for.
Yeah, and kudos again to the Mark Archer of the day at the time, who was allowed to navigate us through complying with that. But one of my debates at the time was, when the FFR was being introduced, is that anyone looking at this can see that the UK is closing every door and leaving only one open, and that is direct taxation. They wanted it that if you had IT projects, you could not do IT projects. Now remember, IT projects is something fundamental to re-engineering your system, introducing technology that's going to reduce your costs, increase your efficiency, et cetera.
Essential to the notion of e-commerce.
And that one that they had almost limited control, the way they controlled it is you had to go to them to get approval on these IT projects.
Yeah.
But even schools, everything they wanted it that it had to fund itself. And the question is, well, how can this public school actually fund itself? It's impossible. So when you start to look at it, the FFR would have been closing all the doors and pretty much just primarily leaving one open. And that is, we want you to see direct taxation as the route to fund government projects. Why, we might ask, does the UK want the Cayman Islands to implement direct taxation? They have made it clear. Bellingham came here and he made it clear that they want UK businesses here. But I can tell you the UK businesses aren't going to come here and become a black hole to the UK. They have what they call, I think it's Global Britain. Bottom line, they want
a conservative notion.
And again, this is all on the internet. Go look it up. The UK documents are there. They're not lying to you. They're making it clear. Territories. This is going to be one Global Britain.
Yeah.
All right. So all the Cayman Islands, all the territories will just be like another borough of the United Kingdom. Well, I'm going to ask you, how can you be a borough of the United Kingdom? See how I say borough?
Borough.
How are you going to be a borough of the United Kingdom, but you don't charge taxes?
Yeah.
So that you're a special borough? That you just become a black hole to all the other boroughs? No, it's not going to happen. So go read the documents. They made it clear exactly what they want, and that's where it is. And again, when you look at this particular bill, the gentleman makes it abundantly clear that the UK's guidance about this is a global standard, I mean, he falls short of saying it's a lie.
You're talking about the beneficial ownership.
Beneficial ownership.
Yeah.
But it's a lie.
Yeah.
Okay? It's not with no global standard. So that's my rant for the day on your thing. So in all of that, Austin, long lengthy, but I think important, is to say I support exactly what you're saying.
Thank you.
And I believe that, yes, you have to cut those things off because where it ends is not necessarily good for Caymanians. And as far as I'm here on this talk show, I will be preaching and teaching and doing whatever I can that's good for Cayman and good for Caymanians. Well, and that particular one isn't.
Before we go to the phone lines, and certainly before we take a short commercial break, I just want to take it one step forward, because further, and only because it begins tomorrow. I want to encourage the Chamber of Commerce, whom I respect for the work that they do, and I've said it before. I respect their chamber forum that's beginning tomorrow in East End, but I would encourage the Compass and our friends over there to include this question.
Oh, the chamber.
To the
you said the
candidates
Compass.
Sorry, did I say the Compass?
Yeah. Slip. Freudian slip.
Thank you. Freudian slip. There's another C, but the Chamber of Commerce. Thank you. Chamber of Commerce, not the Compass. The Chamber of Commerce and their candidates forums, which begin tomorrow, the 13th of March, in the constituency or district of East End. I would encourage the Chamber to include this question. Do you believe, as has been recommended, that PR holders be given the right to sit as members of juries in the Cayman Island? I think Caymanians would be curious to know that. And I dare say status holders, likewise, who, aren't involved in the voting process, but absolutely have, feel the effects of it. They're business owners as well. I think they, too, would be interested to hear what the future leaders of the Cayman Islands and how they feel about this topic. So I encourage the Chamber to include that in their, again, as I stated, their Chamber forums, which begin tomorrow in East End. And certainly we will be following it and undoubtedly adding commentary on it.
Yeah, I don't think there's anything wrong with that. It sounds like a great suggestion. And I want to say that I am totally behind the Chamber Forum of questions.
Yep.
Those are the sort of things that we need. And I want to encourage persons who are listening that if you have candidates in your constituency that are not showing up to the debates, unless they're coming forward with a sick note, I want you to really consider that. I don't want to try to tell you what to do.
No, but
I can tell you that I think someone that deliberately avoids a debate where you can have a chance to be able to hear the same questions asked and field and hear their answers, their competences, their eloquence, their articulation, whatever it is that you're looking for.
Yes.
Then I think it's a total disrespect for the general public, particularly those who are going to be voting.
Yeah.
And you should vote accordingly.
Indeed. Well, it is 5:46, and we're going to pause, take a very short commercial break, but when we come back, the phone lines will be open, and hopefully we'll hear some comments from the listening audience. Maybe you agree, maybe you completely disagree with the positions taken by the two hosts here on Straight Talk, or perhaps, you agree with us and think that you too, are baptized in the holy waters that are the Cayman Islands. But keep it locked. There'll be more Straight Talk still to come right here on 103.1 FM.
More Straight Talk with Austin and Ellio coming up. Be a part of the conversation by calling 745-2626. Bobo FM.
Cayman, could it be you? Tortuga's 10K giveaway is back, and someone's walking away with $10,000 in cash. Every time you spend $25 at Tortuga Fine Wine and Spirits or discount liquors, in-store or online at tortuga.ky, you get a shot at winning big. As well as $10,000 in cash, we've got thousands in giveaways to hand out every week. Think staycations, the latest iPhones, exclusive experiences, and more. Get in to win. Visit tortuga.ky for the full terms and conditions.
Welcome back to Straight Talk with Austin and Ellio. Have your say on 745-2626. Bobo FM.
And welcome back, man, to more Straight Talk here on 103.1 FM. And as the lady said, the phone lines are open at 745-2626. Or if talking is in your thing, we encourage you to share your comments and questions vis-a-vis our WhatsApp line by dialing 928-2562. You can either send us a voice note, and certainly we will add it to our ongoing conversations, or you can send us just a traditional WhatsApp text message. But in the 10 minutes or so that we have remaining before pausing again to go off to the BBC Top of the Hour News, I do see one such voice note, Ellio. So let's hear what the listener has to say.
Mm-hmm.
Hi, Austin and Ellio. I always like to comment on these issues relating to PR and status because I really resent this idea that people who came to Cayman the way I did at one point started to claim that they had greater rights than me or greater rights than my Caymanian friends. This idea that the PR holders should be in the pool of jurors is part of the grand design to take over the Cayman Islands. If you went to the opening of the Grand Court, it was as if you were either in Jamaica or in England. I'm sorry, I'll say it, you know. I did not hear one Caymanian speak. I might be mistaken. Not even one. Government refuses also to accept a policy that all jobs are for Caymanians. Not one generational Caymanian is a judge on the Grand Court. Recently, one judge position opened up. Instead of giving it to the logical person who was there, they gave it to somebody in England. The scare tactics continue, saying that, well, if you introduce rollover in government, you see the government is going to collapse. That is nonsense. There is refusal by some even to make a distinction between a generational Caymanian and a status holder, which with me I always make. Why? Because they are trying to erase that distinction, so they don't write statistics to make that separate. The voices in Cayman today which are calling for some protection of Caymanian culture are becoming increasingly voices crying in the wilderness. There's been also a refusal to give Caymanians jobs if they qualify for them. They'd rather give somebody a job to somebody who is retired from the UK instead of giving a young manager a job in Cayman. That's why this coming election is very, very important, because if you get the wrong government, then you will never have your country back. In fact, I think that the white paper, which they put together, is just a show trying to show as if they are doing something. It is a shame. It will not be enough to fight this grand design which has come and is increasingly just encroaching and encroaching until in the end you will become not just a minority in your own country. You will wind up somewhere around 3 to 4%, and at that time it will be too late. I'm sorry, I'm a candid person. I felt I should say that. I thank you very much.
No, and we thank you very much for sharing it, certainly seeing it as we see it and giving it some credence and credibility. We've said it before, we'll say it again, and I take on board this caller's point. You know, it will come as a thief in the night. We will not realize it until it is all over. And he talks about, you know, the Caymanian going from being the majority to the minority. I'll take it a step further. We are on our way to being in the same category as the blue iguana, endangered species, soon to be extinct.
And you know what?
But again, we can stave off these otherwise eventualities if we recognize the games that people play.
And you know what I'm going to say about that is that
we have one caller on the line.
Okay, well, let's go to that.
Let's take that call and then come back and offer up commentary.
Sure.
Good evening, caller. You're on the air. Hello, caller. You're on the air.
Hey, good afternoon, Ellio, Austin.
Good afternoon.
Dominic Blank here. Hope you're all doing well.
Doing good.
Yeah, sound good too on the radio. Sound good.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
You sound like you won't come in here, you know.
I'm in there now. You guys just let me in. Appreciate it. Thank you for allowing me on the show and to, also voice, my opinion, my peace of mind. Yes, we certainly appreciated that voice message there that you just played. And he's always a great contributor, especially towards us Caymanians. You know, even though he's lets us know that he can always move back to where he come from, right? We can't go back from where we come from, that's for sure. But it certainly is a wonderful topic and wonderful question. It was certainly great of him to call in to really answer that question that you had, Ellio, really about PRs and status holders sitting on the jury as participants, right? I have served on jury duty many times, and never said refuse. Well, if I had to, you write in your letter, you explain why, I'm self-employed, whatever, can't make it on these dates or for this particular one, and of course, you'll be excused. They'll just pull somebody else. So, it is not just, something that you want to let in and everybody come into your country and judge your people, because we don't know which one of the three of us might be on that stand one day, you know, and there won't be, and then just like he said, it'll be 3% Caymanian and the other 7% other people that really just see you as a number heading out the door, need you out the way. So all of this is a part of the big system, and I certainly appreciated that he highlighted things that I guess you can say also say, including us three, but you know, a lot of us Caymanians don't speak up enough about. But a lot of people feel like what's talking just about hot air if you don't have something to action about it, you know. And I guess the problem is that a lot of Caymanians do either have the time or the ability or the knowledge to be able to go out and action these things. And we see our politicians. I mean, you guys have been in our legislative assembly, in our parliament, as we call it today, to help us put up the name, probably another plan, like you all say, to help us help us exit ourselves.
Slowly boil.
Slow boil. But certainly, everything can be stopped, right? And obviously, if we are able to, like you gentlemen said, see how this game is being played, you can always get up from the table, which means you can stop. You might hurt yourself because you got to leave your money on the table and take your losses. But everything can be stopped. We've seen over the years where many Caymanians, not necessarily speaking out publicly, but just voicing their concerns and opinion about our population growth, why it can't slow down. And I personally, you know, have taken it even higher and put the question to people who have, you know, the stroke of the pen on that side. And of course, they see that it can't slow down because we won't be able to survive. And, you know, statistically, I don't see us slowing everything down and not being able to survive. The problem is we go slow one thing down and not the next thing. Yeah, you definitely, like you said, Austin, 25% income and we spend in 50%, we'll definitely be in trouble then. You know what I mean? So you just don't want to draw the brakes on one thing. You want to be able to somehow balance these things, and you need to look at cutting back on your spending first and, of course, increasing our savings, right? So looking at it from that perspective. But, yeah, definitely hope that, you know, also you had mentioned about the chambers and them starting their stuff up in East End tomorrow, those candidates that would be called out, you know, to be able to stand up and let people put the questions to them so we can make the best choice come end of the month.
Right.
You know, so, you know, that is certainly hopefully that, you know, they'll be able to have some of those questions put towards them as well, too, because, I mean, I'm quite sure some of them probably not listening to this show this afternoon and taking note from it. Like you guys putting out questions and getting proper answer from people who are in their position to give an accurate answer, like we just had on that voice note. But again, like I say, I don't want to hold up the whole show with me just saying. I just want to catch a little piece of that and certainly give my support for that voice note.
We welcome your call. One question, if you don't mind me asking, is he gone?
Already.
He's still there.
Yeah, really quickly. I mean, and I think you started to allude to the fact that Caymanians may not speak up. I'm just curious. This is my personal peeve. Why do you think, in your opinion, that a lot of Caymanians don't necessarily speak up on these issues?
Well, it's always that fear, right, of that financial sort of retribution, because if you can't go and just get a job and you don't know what's going to stop you from getting that job, right? Or I personally, I don't have no fear of losing my job. I'll just go create one tomorrow if that's the case. Hopefully not something negative, right? But I'm a survivor and I do whatever I got to do. I'm employed and I'm also self-employed at the same time, you know, and I try to have those two pillars in my personal life. But a lot of Caymanians don't have that, right? And those, some of them that have it also fear losing it, you know. And it's unfortunate, but they do speak. It's just unfortunately they don't want to speak up and protest to get some action done. Because we know when we see things like that happening, politicians are able, I think like you gentlemen were talking about, they're white, you know, we're able to just quickly change all these laws when there's this COVID or something else. But when it comes to Caymanians and the need, you could drag it out and come up with white paper and black paper and all that type of stuff. But I think a lot of that has to do with the fear of it, Ellio, that people are looking at what they can lose and then what they can't gain. And you just don't know, because right now, you remember, we're already in that minority.
So just a fear thing.
Yeah, and then most, if not almost all of our employers, are those expatriates or those foreigners, right? Or had something to do with them. It's unfortunate because, I mean, it's just how it is. You know, but it is that, I think that's where the fear is coming from. You know, earlier that day, I was just, not that day, actually this morning, I was just thinking about back in, I think it was 80-something, when you were the star of the show. I think it was Quarter Minute Colors, right?
Right.
And you played the role of Joseph. And I was,
Yeah. Caller, sorry, I have to jump in. We have 10 seconds. I got to go to a break.
Hold on.
But certainly, if you're there, I think I dropped him. Anyway, keep it locked. There'll be more Straight Talk still to come after the news.
With you in mind, we have your style. Find what you need down every aisle. You want saving, selection, and quality. That's why we're your home store. Home store. The way to make a home. The way to make a home.
Do you have a healthcare question but not sure who to ask? Contact HSA's Patient Call Center to speak to one of our experienced clinical team members. We are here to answer your questions and help guide you through your healthcare journey. Need to make an appointment? Our team can help. Contact HSA at 949-8600 or email info@hsa.ky. At HSA, we are committed to caring for you.
The BBC's From Our Own Correspondent.
In today's Russia, no one is allowed anywhere near the political stage if they pose a serious challenge to Vladimir Putin.
Stories and reflections from our reporters around the world.
There is a major sense of insecurity here. More people are coming in from Sudan every day.
From Our Own Correspondent from the BBC.
The home of the BBC World Service. This is Bobo FM.
How can we understand the world better?
The BBC World Service is a window onto the wider world.
A vantage point from which to survey a new horizon.
News, reports, and analysis from around the world.
Stories we think matter.
Different people from different societies.
We get to the heart of global issues.
News, stories, and global perspectives from the BBC World Service.
The home of the BBC World Service. This is Bobo FM.
Hello, I'm Moira Alderson with the BBC News. Donald Trump has confirmed that US officials are travelling to Russia to discuss a proposed 30-day ceasefire with Ukraine. Kyiv accepted the proposals during a meeting in Saudi Arabia on Tuesday, led by the US Secretary of State Marco Rubio. Our State Department correspondent Tom Bateman has been speaking to Mr. Rubio.
He said this was about how they wanted the world to look within days in terms of using diplomacy. But it also gave us a sense, I think, of the urgency with which the Trump administration wants to do all of this. Now, I think that will enhance some of the sense of criticism there's been around this, that the idea of trying to rush a truce will embolden the invading power. But the Americans say this is about using diplomacy rather than fighting.
Meanwhile, the Kremlin says President Putin has visited a command post in the Kursk region, where Russia has been retaking territory that was seized by Ukrainian forces last year. If confirmed, it would be the first time Mr. Putin has visited Kursk since Ukrainian troops stormed into the region last August. Ministers from Europe's 5 main military powers have ended a meeting in Paris focusing on defence priorities in the face of uncertainty about US policy. Gatherings of the recently formed E5 group of nations, France, Britain, Germany, Italy and Poland, are expected to become a regular occurrence. Speaking at a news conference, the British Defence Secretary John Healey said they'd agreed to focus their efforts on greater cooperation to boost security across the region.
Between our 5 nations, we recognise that we must take on more responsibility for European security. So today in Paris we have agreed we must rearm, we must spend more, we must work together to strengthen our industrial base. Our industry must be capable of innovating at wartime pace and must make defence an engine for economic growth in each of our nations.
The Pakistani military says an operation to rescue hundreds of train passengers taken hostage by separatist rebels in the southwest has ended. A spokesman said more than 300 hostages had been freed from the train, which was seized by militants in Balochistan province on Tuesday. He said 33 rebels were killed during the assault. 21 civilian hostages and 4 soldiers were killed by the Baloch Liberation Army before the operation began. Here's Anbarasan Etirajan.
This was an unprecedented move by the Baloch rebels. So there will be questions asked how this was allowed to happen. But this also shows how the Baloch rebels are increasingly targeting higher value targets in the past few months. Now, this attack will give more publicity for the rebels. If the military goes against the rebels, if they launch any strong high-ended military operation, that could further alienate the Baloch ethnic community, and that is the danger.
BBC News. The former president of the Philippines, Rodrigo Duterte, is in custody at the International Criminal Court in The Hague after arriving in the Netherlands from Manila. He was detained on an ICC arrest warrant on charges of murder as a crime against humanity in connection with his war on drugs. More than 6,000 drug dealers, users and others were killed in a brutal anti-drugs campaign during Mr. Duterte's tenure between 2016 and 2022. Karim Khan is the prosecutor at the ICC.
The judges have found reasonable grounds to believe that Mr. Duterte has committed the crime of murder as the founder, as the head of the so-called Davao death squad, as the mayor of Davao City, and then later as the president of the Philippines.
Some of America's biggest trading partners have unveiled countermeasures after President Trump's blanket tariffs on steel and aluminium imports to the United States took effect. Canada announced additional duties on more than $20 billion worth of US goods from Thursday, while the European Union said it was imposing retaliatory tariffs on goods worth $28 billion from next month. The Trump administration has announced the scrapping of a swathe of environmental protections introduced under President Biden, including restrictions on carbon emissions from coal plants, cars and lorries. The rules are due to take effect from 2032 and would have forced factories to reduce their carbon dioxide output by 90% or shut down. At least 30 people have been detained after a march by Argentine pensioners against government cuts turned violent. The weekly demonstration had been joined by supporters of 4 Buenos Aires football clubs in memory of the Argentine football star Diego Maradona. He once said you'd have to be a real coward not to defend retirees, a cry that's become a rallying call as the value of the state pension shrinks under President Javier Milei.
The views and opinions expressed on Straight Talk with Austin and Ellio do not necessarily reflect or represent the views of Stingray Media, its staff, or contributors. Callers to the program accept full responsibility for the views expressed. The show host and affiliates are not liable for any statements made or any harm claimed. All callers to the program indemnify Straight Talk from all claims. Offensive, defamatory, or unlawful content will not be tolerated. Be a part of the conversation by calling 745-2626. Now, here's Straight Talk with Austin and Ellio on Bobo 103.1.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Straight Talk with your host, Austin Harris, and myself, Ellio Solomon, right here on your radio dial 103.1. Some of you might still be listening to us on 89.1. Want to encourage you to change it. Time is ticking.
That's right.
And it's gonna convert to 103.1, and then you're gonna lose us, and we can't have that.
No, we can't have that. We'll come looking for you then.
Yes, in fact, we need you to promote this radio station to all of your friends, family members, and don't care if they're upset. Just do it.
Just do it.
It's 745-2626 here up in the studio, and I miss my friend Dominic. I want him to call back because he started to say something about me being in that play.
Yes, Joseph and the amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat. I remember it.
You got to finish it, Dominic. Don't start that. Leave it hanging, and that's not nice.
There he is. He's back.
He's back. I think.
Back.
There you
Dominic
go.
is a good man. Dom, you're on the line.
There you go.
Yeah. We had to make way.
It was a hard break. My colleague had no choice.
Yeah, it was coming whether we were done or not.
Well, that's what you call the superior to the inferior right there, right?
You got it, brother. You got it.
Yeah, as I was in the north, and I was saying this morning, I was having a flashback because I had attended that play that you had starred in, The Coat of Many Colors, I think was the title, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, that's right.
It was based on Joseph.
Yeah, right.
And of course, from the good book, the Bible, as many of our good fellow Christian out there will know that in that story, it was about him being basically, I guess, in other words, let's say he had some problem with his brothers, but the point was he had inherited the responsibility, right, of managing his country, right, and his people, that he was able to see that he needed to save for 7 years of hardship ahead, right? And when I was thinking about that this morning, and I was saying that was funny because when Ellio came along, and from that show to the day of reality, when he was a politician, he had put something in place for his people, many Caymanians, to be able to go there and pull from their pension, especially at a time when you still have it, because we see places like Argentina with a pension declining, and you don't know if you can even touch it, and you not only putting that, but other things in place. I was just saying to myself how that worked out, and at least in my mind, I was just thinking about that, and I had to mention that to you as well.
The irony of it all.
Yeah, like you played the role in real life, not necessarily with the many coat of colors, but you went out there and did your part for your people. And that was good, Ellio, and I just wanted to thank you for that.
Well, God bless you for that. I really appreciate that. And of course, I'll say the story hasn't ended yet. There was a time that Joseph was in prison, right?
Yes.
he still comes out, right?
That's right. So
he still comes out.
All right.
Thank you. In prison, but he still get out.
And he soon comes out and becomes number 2. They said. Thank you very much, caller. Greatly appreciate that.
Yes.
Hey, greatly appreciated, and we'll talk again.
God bless you.
Thank you, Dominic. Certainly appreciate your comments this evening.
Oh, that was a nice story.
2626 is the number. Yes, it was a very good story.
610 here in the studio. That gives us just about 20 minutes.
Yep, just about 19 minutes. You're right, before we have to sign off again for today.
Oh, you're down to the seconds today.
Down to the seconds, boy. 18 minutes and
time flies.
45 seconds. If you want to get specific. But 745-2626 is the number, or 928-2562. Give us a call, send us a voice note, send us a message.
So I was just reminded, actually, today that you were in that play too, Austin.
I was in a lot less starring role as well, but in the background nonetheless. I was one of the brothers that put Mr. Ellio Solomon, Joseph, in that little hole. Yes, no, I was in Joseph. Joseph was my second play. My first play was The Sound of Music, which was, of course, directed by I won't call him the late, I don't know if he's dead or not, but Jeff Creswell was in charge. He was the artistic director of the Hartwell Theater at the time, and I played one of the Germans in the German soldiers in The Sound of Music. But I was also reminded of that play, and a caller to the program we once had, your friend, Mr. Troy Leacock. He played the starring role of the young man whose name I can't quite remember right now, but he got the girl in the end, and we were all a lot younger.
And I had to do a lot of tumbling in that particular play.
Well, in Joseph, you took some licks at Joseph, I'll tell you, because I gave them to you.
Apparently I took licks in real life too. But, to the caller's point, actually it was funny because I was having a conversation like this a couple of weeks ago with someone and saying it's kind of weird. I mean, even my good friend Troy came along and I said, wow, Troy was on that show Joseph as well. Interesting, interesting. And I still like singing.
Yeah. He's still singing. He's still very good at it. And
that was a musical.
During the break, I was impressed that you remembered one of the songs from that play.
I think I remember
the words.
I think I just remember just about all of them.
Really? That's a fantastic memory.
And seeing as no one's calling, I can kind of give a snippet of the two.
Oh, God.
I know you're dying to hear it.
I am. I'm just waiting with bated breath.
And everyone right now,
waiting to say
everyone right now is in their car.
One more time.
Everyone is in their car saying, "Do it, Ellio.
Do it, Ellio. Do it.
Do it. Do it,
man.
Own this."
Yeah.
Oh Lord. Okay, fine. I won't sing.
No, man, do it. No.
Where's the quarters and wind me up?
I need you to do it now. Come on.
Okay, so the first one was when Joseph was chatting with his brothers and trying to tell them about the dream he had, right?
Yeah.
I dreamt that in the fields one day at corn collecting time, your 11 sheaves of corn all turned and bowed to mine. My sheaf was quite a sight to see, a golden sheath and tall, and yours were green and second-rate and really rather small. I dreamt I saw 11 stars, the sun and moon and sky, bowing down before my star. It made me wonder why. Could it be that I was born for higher things than you? A post in someone's government, a ministry or two. That was one.
Wow.
You see? I remember it.
Hit the red button. That deserves a red button.
Okay, hold on.
Big shot, Ellio. Let it never be said that
Lord.
Ellio Solomon is afraid to sing or do whatever.
One of the good ones was, I'm probably not going to sing all this one, but the other good one was when they had me locked in the prison. You know?
I mean, there's more? Come on, sing it one more time.
This is another one. They had me locked in the prison, so it's close every door to me. You remember it?
Yeah, yep.
Hide all the world from me. Bar all the windows and shut out the light. Do what you want with me. Hate me and laugh at me. Darken my daytimes and shorten my nights. For I know I will find my own peace of mind. For I have been promised a land of my own.
You really have an angelic voice.
Oh,
and I even sound a little.
Hold on.
I even hear a little Aladdin, in that singing voice there.
That was a good play.
That was a good play, and you clearly have not skipped a beat. And to our listening audience, if you think that was good, wait till the Straight Talk Christmas album comes out. Wow! That's guaranteed to be thing of legend. On that note, let's keep it locked. We have to pause, take a short commercial break. Before the last one for the night, but keep it locked. There'll be more Straight Talk still to come right here on Bobo 103.1 FM.
More Straight Talk with Austin and Ellio coming up. Be a part of the conversation by calling 745-2626. Bobo FM.
Hey man, could it be you? Tortuga's 10K giveaway is back, and someone's walking away with $10,000 in cash. Every time you spend $25 at Tortuga Fine Wine and Spirits or discount liquors, in-store or online at tortuga.ky, you get a shot at winning big. As well as $10,000 in cash, we've got thousands in giveaways to hand out every week. Think staycations, the latest iPhones, exclusive experiences, and more. Get in to win. Visit tortuga.ky for the full terms and conditions.
Welcome back to Straight Talk with Austin and Ellio. Have your say on 745-2626. Bobo FM.
And welcome back, K-Man, to more Straight Talk here on Bobo 103.1 FM and simulcast live on YouTube and Instagram. It is 16 minutes past the hour of 6 o'clock, giving us just over 12 minutes before we have to wrap it up for today. But so far, it's been a great show, great discussion. Thank you to our two contributors who called in and certainly shared their viewpoints with us. But a special thank you to Dominique, our last caller, which encouraged my colleague out of his otherwise introverted skin, because he was really shy and he didn't really know, how to do it. And he really wasn't going to do it unless Dominic encouraged him. But he sang us not one, but two songs with his truly. I mean, come on, you got to call a spade a spade. That's a good singing voice he got. He could sing not just the cry country songs. He can sing them Aladdin songs like Joseph songs very well. And I mean, come on, how long ago? 20 years ago? Easy? Longer?
Longer than that.
Yeah, 25, 30 years?
I think I must have been, I had to be either like somewhere between 18 and 20.
Yeah, and I was definitely in that bracket. A few years younger, but you see,
so that was
we were together before we even knew we were together.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I said when he mentioned that. It was like I didn't. That's when I learned that you were. I remembered that you were in there.
Yeah,
it's like this is very ironic.
But you see, though, see, and I'm gonna throw a few punches here now.
Yeah,
see, this is what happens.
I can take it.
When you're the star of the show. When you're the star of the show, you don't notice these little peddly big actors, the brothers. I may have had one line, maybe that at all. You were in it. You were in the same play that I was.
No,
in the same.
Let me tell you.
Dressing room with me. Let me tell you what happened.
Let me tell you what happened. Let me tell you what happened.
I was so high on that lofty mountaintop.
No, let me tell you what happened. Let me tell you what happened. You're trying to make it sound like you were insignificant. No, that's not what it is.
It was.
Maybe it was because I had been beaten so much by my brothers
that
I suffered some kind of a traumatic experience.
You did.
It's like a trauma.
You blocked it all out.
It was trauma, and I blocked the whole thing out.
That's right.
At least you know I didn't hold any grudges against
Clearly you didn't. Clearly. Now I feel guilty.
And actually, that's something I went through my life. People beat me up all the time. I just forgive them, move on. You know, you're holding on to that anger, you're only going to hurt yourself.
Yeah. They may have beat you up when you were 18, but I dare to challenge that notion that anybody beat up Ellio Solomon anytime after. I'm just saying.
You're saying just in the play?
And just in the play only. Only in theater is that a reality. But in reality,
but boy,
just don't go so.
I got some tumbles in that, boy.
Yeah, man.
You guys enjoy throwing me around.
Oh, well, secretly, yes. And as a matter of fact, I'm waiting for a comeback just so I can throw you down a hole again. I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
I know you're joking.
You know I love you, buddy.
I love you too,
buddy.
buddy.
I love you.
I love you too.
So 745.
Hey, by the way, on my watch right now, it's 6:19. You know what's great about 6:19?
I don't know.
If you push a pin in the middle and turn, it still turns to 6:19.
Say what? Oh, yes. Okay, yes. If you flip it over.
Yeah.
Or otherwise, it's still, okay, thank you.
Okay, you got it.
I had a pause there for a second. I was like, what? It's like a pencil in the middle.
I'm sorry. This is how my mind works.
It's all right, man.
I get stuck behind cars in the traffic, and I go, look at this license plate.
Again, it's like that hula hoop, you know. In the back of my mind, I thought I should really let this girl win, but
do you remember the song that the brothers sang when I told them about my dream?
No.
Well, it was basically saying that the dreams of our dear brothers are the decade's biggest yawn. His dreams of stars and golden sheaves is just a load of corn. You remember? You remember it now?
Again, this is my point. I drive it home. When you are a superstar, you remember not only your own lines, but the lines of the insignificant supporting cast who are needed to make
I probably had to remember everybody's part because at some point I had to come
like a diamond. He was the original.
I love that
Shine
song.
bright like a diamond guy. And still to this day, we call him guy. He's a bright, shining diamond.
There you go.
Austin,
you're a great guy.
Yeah, man, I try to be. I'm a good friend to have.
Absolutely.
Contrary to popular belief, and you can be my witness to that. But listen, yesterday, I didn't want you to think I forgot because I did promise to do some, mild bedtime reading last night, which I did not do.
Yeah.
And I wanted to do it today, but today was, as you know, a very busy work day for us, certainly from a show perspective, not least of which, of course, planning what will be a fantastic, truly a marvelous discussion on beneficial ownership. And, I'm anxious to, share details with the listening audience, but I won't. But I will just simply say that when we have this discussion on beneficial ownership, was it next week?
Yeah, next week.
Next week when we have it again, we'll tease it some more as we draw closer.
Yeah, you're going to enjoy this one.
But you're going to enjoy this one because it really is terrific. And again, the guest that we will welcome in studio is top notch.
Yeah, top notch.
And certainly someone who is not shy about expressing their opinions. He said I didn't even give any kinds of hint as it could it be male, could it be female?
Correct. You know, very well worded.
Very well worded.
You seem like you're skilled at this, Austin.
Well,
like you've done it a couple of times.
I've done it once or twice, but
to use the political term, not your first rodeo.
Not my first rodeo. But yesterday we were talking, of course, about the scooters and stand-up scooters and mopeds, motorized bicycles and whatnot, and we couldn't find any sort of regulations that govern them. No regulations in the traffic law that stipulate,
I will bet you more people in their cars today saw a lot more of those things. It's like your eyes become more aware.
I believe it. I certainly did today, and I saw at least one motorized bike, and I never see them.
Yeah.
But I saw one today as well. To your point, I was just looking for
your
it
eyes are now
subconsciously. But I did promise to look at the regulations to see, again, whether or not what was not contained in the substantive law might and sometimes does, in fact, appear on the regulations, which are written afterwards, which seek to fine-tune or lay out in further comprehensive detail the rules of the road. But I did not get to mess with the traffic law or traffic act regulations today. But today is only Wednesday.
This gives us more
do what
time.
I can to look at it for tomorrow so that we can... I think it's important that we finish the conversations that we start just from the standpoint of ensuring the public is the benefactor of the full story. As my good friend says, what is the true position? Give them at all times the best we can, the true position. So we offered up some thoughts saying that you know, these are safety hazards. We believe it is. We, you know, suggested that, you know, the time is to get proactive rather than reactive. To anybody who might be listening. But certainly also we were critical in terms of the absence of criteria. But I want to make sure that that is the case, because I don't want to, you know, leave the audience thinking that we improperly flogged any aspect of the government or anything of our services unfairly. So
Yeah,
I will look into it.
I think we can reach out and see if we can get someone from the RCIP in here. I mean, I'm hoping it's something that I'm missing, but I doubt it. I doubt it.
Well, again, I'd just say that in the absence of, you know, getting someone from the RCIPS in studios, the information is readily available. We just have to find it and read it, even though the Traffic Act itself is over 100 clauses. We had to read that, too, to, you know, discover what we didn't discover what is not there. But maybe it'll be included in the regulations. And if that is the case, then before the week is out, we're going to finish the conversation started yesterday on the whole notion of motorized bicycles, scooters, stand-up or otherwise, and the safety risks that they present on the roadway, and how can we be proactive to ensure that what we see potentially happening does not happen, and that starts with awareness.
Absolutely.
4 minutes left, Ellio. An opportunity for any additional remarks that you might want to give?
No, well, just finishing on what you've just, again, restarted there. Again, I just don't think it's possible that you would be allowing persons to be going 20, 25, 30 miles an hour without a helmet. You know, it doesn't seem right. And I definitely think it is a discussion that needs to continue. And worst case, we can put together some bullet points. If you don't even get someone from an RCIP, and send it on to them.
Yeah.
Send it on to our parliamentarians. And again, I want to encourage our Caymanians to speak up. I've had the pleasure to be involved for the last couple of months with trying to fight on a campaign to do something in cruise tourism, which is something I'm passionate about, as persons might be able to tell. But most importantly is because I really believe it's good for the country. And I do not want to see, even though I'm not directly involved in the industry, I do not want to see 2,000. I don't want to see one, but I definitely don't want to see 3,000 of our Caymanians unemployed and can't feed themselves, can't feed their family at night. I know as a father how it hurts. I think it hurts both parents, but a father, a real man, wants to provide for his family, and when he cannot provide for his family, I don't think there's anything worse than that. And that is a dangerous man, quite frankly, in my opinion, when you put a man in that position. So I definitely want to encourage, I say all that to say I want to encourage Caymanians to speak up as much as possible. Even if it's sending a text, you know, a voice message, whatever it is, find a way to speak up and have your voices heard. Because I can tell you, it does make a difference. If there's one thing politicians understand, and that's numbers.
Yeah.
Numbers in our pocket and numbers in terms of those voices and votes. So make sure and have your voices heard. It's been a great discussion, and I want to be able to continue, again, the situation with the, what do you call it? Stand-up scooters, whatever.
Yeah.
And all the other great things that we want and need to discuss on this program.
Absolutely.
And I'm happy about our first month.
Yeah, no, thrilled. We celebrated our first month anniversary on Monday, the 10th of March. Month-iversary. And,
you got to move your mouth a certain way also.
Yeah.
Month-iversary. It's kind of like a drunk kind of.
Like Sylvester the cat suffering
succotash. Exit stage right, even.
Heavens to Murgatroyd.
You see, cartoons not even cartoons are the same
The
anymore.
Bugs Bunny show was the best cartoons. We're the best Saturday morning cartoons ever. When they cease to exist, I just don't understand Saturday morning cartoons anymore. But outside from the Saturday morning cartoons, there was a public notice shared by the governor's office and the Ministry of Tourism as it relates to the Honorable Deputy Premier. It reads, and I quote, I wanted to do it before we signed off today, the Cayman Islands government and Ministry of Tourism and Ports is warning the public about fraudulent news reports circulating on social media regarding Deputy Premier, the Honorable Kenneth Bryan. These reports appear to be legitimate Cayman Compass articles, but are entirely false and include links to a phishing scam. The public is encouraged to exercise caution and avoid engaging with these fraudulent posts, which also includes avoiding clicking said posts. So if you've seen it, be worried. I got it sent to me last night saying, what is this all about? And I had to look at it. One look I just saw, I said, this is a scam. This is not real. Ignore it and move on. Don't believe everything you see on Facebook.
Month anniversary.
Month anniversary. Well, that is
happy month anniversary.
Happy month anniversary.
Hey, you know, by the way, I was in a discussion this morning. You ever notice, like, anything that you throw out to the masses become negative? Like, you can't say anymore. Like, since when did they redefine the word drink? Like, you can't say, I need a drink.
Well, we'll talk about that tomorrow.
It'll come across the wrong way, like you're talking month anniversary.
We'll talk about that tomorrow.
You had a drink.
That's all the time we have for you today on this Wednesday, but tune in tomorrow for more Straight Talk on 103.1.